Praise be, bitches, here it is. Episode 1 of Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale, Offred. Let's break it down. I love this opening scene. Now, because I've read the book, I know exactly what's happening and who everyone is, but that's not why I love this scene. I love this scene because even if I had not read the book, that would still be true. We have a fleeing car, scared family, sirens blaring. They crash the car because, well, of course they do. That's just kind of movie law. Now we know there's a mom, a dad, and a little girl, and they're running away from something. But we don't know what, but their fear of it is palpable, and we feel afraid too, so really well done. It didn't occur to me until later that perhaps we're supposed to think that these people are criminals on the run, but I dismiss that when I see the people after them. I see no police insignia or badges, and since when do cops carry those kind of guns? I'll remind everyone, I'm in Canada, where here, cops do not carry those kind of guns. So these aren't the police chasing this family, it's scary men with guns in black. Now we know something is very wrong here. The beating is just brutal. High praise to the show for having the balls to do it right, show it, make it look just as awful as it would be. No cutting away, no fade to black. They show it in all of its violent glory. It makes the smash cut very effective, because now we have a second mystery. How did that woman in the woods, who looks like any of us, turn into this Quaker doll? We see Offred's first day in the house, and we get a taste of the monologue device that will be very important and very effective throughout the show. I'll say right now, I think one of the greatest strengths of this series is how even people who have not read the book will have no trouble whatsoever understanding anything about it. With little to no exposition, we get told a lot about the world, and I like that the inner monologue doesn't just serve as a narrative or a way to inform an unseen audience. They don't abuse the trick. The thoughts are not purely expositional, they are also human and very honest. We get a lot of information early on. Instantly we see color plays a huge role. If you want to know more about that, check out my world overview video. And we also hear some very strange greetings and responses. I credit Elizabeth Moss for making the words sound just a little bit unfamiliar, a little rote and robotic, as if she's memorized them, but her lips aren't quite used to saying the words yet. We also get a glimmer that she's not as programmed as she appears to be when she speaks out of turn to the commander.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
And we learn Serena Joy is not the nicest person. It goes without saying that since this is a pilot, much of this episode is world building and introductions. But the thing that I especially loved is when we see how food is handled.
The commander likes his eggs lately. Make sure they're fresh. Not like last time. Let them know who it's for, and they won't mess around.
Right?
We see that there's problems with freshness of the products and with supply and demand, indicating further something is very wrong here. Also, that status matters and that commanders are high up, and there's tickets instead of money.
He's the commander's driver, lives over the garage. Low status, hasn't even been issued a woman.
We meet Nick and we learn a few more things. Offred again refers to rank, strongly implying this is now a militaristic society. Also, the idea of being issued a woman. Note she says woman and not handmaid. But also, I love her sarcastic tone when she's thinking about going to the bar, and the way she makes it sound like saying it out loud would just be so ridiculous that she doesn't even say it to Nick as a joke. You can't even do that here. You can't even crack a joke. So I think the fact that she doesn't say it out loud, it is very, very telling. Because really, they're two young people. What could be wrong with them sharing a joke? And then you remember that there's those men with black with guns who are never more than 5 feet away from anybody in this world. Seriously, pay attention to the background in every episode. You see those guys everywhere. It's a really creepy detail that they had to go to a lot of effort to include.
We go everywhere in twos. Supposed to be for our protection, for companionship. It's bullshit. There are no friends here. Can't be. The truth is we're watching each other. She's my spy. And I'm hers.
Now we get the crux of how it really works. Everyone spies on everyone. And this is why it works. One step out of line and there's a dozen people to tell on you. The men in black with guns are called guardians/eyes. The initial thought of them is that they are to protect everyone in the society, but of course this is a totalitarian regime, so that ain't true. Now we get introduced to the Rachel and Leah Re-Education Center, or the Red Center, as it's usually called. Yeah, everything in it is red. How'd you guess? We get a little of what's gone on that's left this woman where we see her now.
The plague of infertility. Welcome. Find a seat, please. As birth rates fell, they made things worse.
Seems there's a new government in town, and all the women are being rounded up. It's been decided by the men who have seized power that because the world has fucked itself, they will try to fuck their way out of it. No, seriously, there's a huge fertility problem, and the world, not just America where we see this taking place, the world itself is literally dying out. So there's been a coup, a regime change, and there is an ongoing civil war. What caused this fertility epidemic, you might ask? Well, they give a lot of reasons. Toxic waste, nuclear weapons, global warming, all those things. But no, the real problem was women. Filthy, dirty, sexually liberal women. What with their birth control and their being able to say no to sex and have abortions, drink alcohol, smoke pot, wear revealing clothing, where does it end? Dear God, someone think of the children. We let them eat whatever they want. Women could even read books. Books which contain ideas. Ideas like equality and choice. And didn't that just let the women wreck everything for the men? This speech is damn near perfect.
But ordinary is just what you're used to. This may not seem ordinary to you right now, but after a time it will. This will become ordinary.
It's all true. Everything she says is correct, and it speaks very much to the fact that these women are being brainwashed. In fact, the whole society is undergoing severe brainwashing on a daily basis. This place is called the Re-Education Center, don't forget. We get our first look at the ear tag, and I love that it is not commented on in this episode. In fact, it won't be commented on for a very long time. It's just left there as yet another mystery for us to remember and wonder about later. And then we flash back to something truly disgusting.
And who led them on? Whose fault was it? I don't know. Whose fault was it, girls?
Her fault. Her fault. Her fault. Her fault.
Leave a like if you've heard this before. It is so much like what we hear today. It's slut-shaming and victim-blaming, just like today where it's done by the news reporting or the courts or, of course, the internet and social media can always be relied upon. The only difference here is that no one is hiding behind a screen. Now we see the ceremony, the thing at the core of being a handmaid. It all leads up to this. We see that it's highly ritualized, that everyone in the house is involved, and that it is religious somehow. Also that the Bible or some sort of holy book is kept under lock and key. The story of Rachel and Leah is read and then acted out. And it is awful. It is truly a terrible, awful thing being done to someone who is completely powerless, and so much credit to the actors and the director and to Hulu for keeping this real. You can feel the sheer awkwardness, the uncomfortableness of what is being done. The fact that everyone involved is not thrilled to be there. Not making any excuses for anyone, but all three people are very much being forced into this.
The moon's the same. That's something.
In the aftermath, she has a moment of nearly losing it, of just needing to get outside, of just needing air for one precious second. But she panics and runs back inside when Nick catches a glimpse of her. This shows just how tightly controlled she is, even stepping outside for fresh air while still very much inside the gates of the house that she's being kept in. Even just that could summon a black van and the end of her.
Oranges and tuna. Sounds delicious.
The bit with the tuna is cute, I'll grant them that. I didn't care for the flirty little look between the two of them at the end. Too soon, and they didn't earn it. Now a scene that I was really hoping would be somewhere in the early episodes, but I didn't expect it in the pilot. I thought it would be asking too much of a pilot, honestly. And it is the scene that I was most worried about seeing televised. Yes, more than the ceremony. I'm talking about the salvaging scene. Reasons I was worried this would be a failure point of the show include that this is a huge outdoor scene needing dozens, perhaps hundreds of people. It is meant to be shown as methodical, organized, efficient, and totally brutal, while still being portrayed as perfectly normal and no cause for alarm. That is a very tall order. Well, my wings off to them because they nailed it. Excellent production value. I love all that this scene has to offer. First, that the handmaids try to keep tabs on each other, find out who is where, what's happened to them, and we learn that some significant amount of time has passed from the Red Center because Janine is now about to pop. An eye for an eye has become the law of the land. This is how the system works now. So we see a disheveled man in cuffs, and we're told that this man is a rapist and a murderer. And against one of them, against a handmaid. And now the handmaids get to take retribution. Not justice, retribution. Between the ceremony last night, the continued presence of Nick, and having just been told that her best friend was sent to the colonies and is likely dead, Offred has a lot of rage to work off just now. Not to blow too much smoke, but what makes this scene wonderful are some very key choices. As the circle is formed, the music gets considerably darker and louder than it's been throughout the show. The angle of the camera is much lower. They look truly menacing as they form a circle around this man. The anger on their faces, the hatred, the burning tears in their eyes, the clenched teeth, it's all extremely effective. And then they attack, and it is vicious. It is close quarters. It's brutal, it's bloody, and my number one compliment, the women fight like women. They aren't throwing punches like an MMA fighter. No one turns into an action hero. Offred doesn't punch the guy in the face. She knees him and kicks him. Most of the blows are kicks because women do not rely on upper body strength. We're usually at a disadvantage there. So if we want force, go for the legs. So the women kick him, and they claw him, and they stomp him, and they rip his hair out. They use their hands and forearms to literally just beat on him. It is every bit the brutal chaos that it is intended to be. Side note, I particularly like that even when they are using their hands, if you watch Elizabeth Moss and the other girl's hands, they have their hands like this. They're just balled up like this, and they're just beating on the guy like this. Not one person makes a proper fist. This is incredibly true to life. A story from when I was in high school, I knew a girl who went down to the gym one day, started going at the punching bag, and wound up breaking her thumb and 2 of her fingers because at 19 years old she'd never been shown how to form a proper fist or throw a punch, and she had done this. Where's the camera? Okay, see? You tuck the thumb inside the fingers, except that's apparently exactly what you are not supposed to do. That's a recipe for breaking your thumb and possibly your fingers, which is what she did. But she didn't know that. That just seems the natural way to make a fist, doesn't it? It's certainly how I made a fist up to that point, though never again afterwards. No, apparently, according to the internet, you're supposed to make a fist like this. And that's just a thing girls are never taught. And so I love that the show takes full advantage of that, and they didn't teach anybody things they wouldn't know, and they just let the women attack the way that women would. Then we have the stark contrast of the walk home. Everyone is calm again, quiet, whispering, walking slowly. Everything is immediately back to Pleasantville. From hell. We get just a glimpse of a real conversation, and that perhaps of Glenn is not the pious little shit she pretends to be.
They do that really well. Make us distrust each other. Eyes. Come on. Just keep walking.
The man that forces them to stop talking and keep walking is such a great example of show, don't tell. Without being directly told, we know now that just a casual word to an acquaintance is enough to land you in that van. You get a little more background and a little more on how things went from what we know today to this. That people did try to escape, and that being caught and taken back by the state is a very common story now. A lot of the women share it. As is having had a family before that has been broken up and taken apart, and that you've been taken away from and will probably never see them again, if they're even still alive. And our last piece of bad news. There is an eye in Offred's house. An eye is sort of a high-ranking spy, I guess. They are guardians, but they don't have to be guardians, I'll clarify. They can be anyone, but they're mostly guardians. And they are people that covertly spy for the state and then report back to the higher ups, at least in theory. And if there's one in your house, then you are being watched every second of every day and every minor infraction being reported. Not exactly what you want in the place where you're forced to live. We get a very telling moment with Serena Joy.
Rest for the weary. We'll join you for dinner.
Go back to your room.
Even she is shut out of the men's world, and we see how much this hurts her. And of course she immediately takes it out on Offred, because this is a running theme of hers. And then the soon-to-be infamous act out.
My name is June.
Now, I'll confess I'm very torn on this. When I first saw it, I wanted to throw something at the TV. How could they? How could they get everything right and fuck this up? Because one of the biggest points in the book, one of the things that made me read it dozens of times and cherish it forever, is we never learn Offred's name. Never. And that is what makes her the best character in literature. One of them. There are some other good ones out there, but she is one of the best because she is someone you can literally step into. Because she has no name, you can substitute yourself in place of her so easily, and that is the point of the heroine or hero in a novel. You are supposed to feel like you're taking their place and living the adventure. So the device of her not having a name was insanely effective in that reality. She could have been any woman. She could be me. She could be you, or you. So I hate that she has a name. That said, I'm not stupid. To do a series, like I said, things have to change. And it's just not practical or reasonable to think that we would never hear her real name, or that the women would never share their real names with each other, or secretly call each other by that, because of course they would. And some of these women know each other from before, or from time at the Red Center, so I accept the need for her to have a name. And I'm aware that it was long rumored that it was at least subtly implied by Margaret Atwood in the novel that her name was June, so I like that they did call her that and not Kate. Ugh, bad memories. And then, in all its awesomeness, the moment that told me I was going to love this series forever and that I would forgive them any little missteps or affronts to my personal taste.
You don't own me.
This is the perfect song choice. You Don't Own Me. I couldn't have said it any better myself. In a world that revolves around the suppression and subjugation of women, this song is the anthem of the rebellion, and it sets in stone that this is a rebellious, spirited show. And I don't mean the content of the show, I mean the way the show is being filmed, the way it's being shown, the close-up angles, the lack of makeup. The women look like they're not even wearing makeup, which obviously they are because it's TV, but the fact that they make them look unmade up. They will have bruises, they will have scratches, they'll have dark circles under their eyes. That is unheard of. The in-your-face awkwardness and violence and real horror of what day-to-day life in this world of Gilead is really like. It loudly and proudly stands up and says, this world is terrible and we're going to show every bit of it. We want you to see just how bad can be. And things do get a lot worse, but more on that in the next episode. Made me laugh goes to...
Going shopping?
No, Nick, I'm gonna knock back a few at the Oyster House bar. You wanna come along?
You Go Girl for Ovglen, attempting a conversation in public? How rebellious. Nitpick award goes to Aunt Lydia's speech. She says you were given freedom to choose, now you're being given freedom from. There's more to that quote from the book. In the book it goes, there's more than one kind of freedom. Freedom to and freedom from. In the days of anarchy, it was freedom to. Now you are being given freedom from. Don't underrate it. This ties into how the government keeps control and how it came to power based on the propaganda of protecting women. That they must be kept under our watch so we can protect them. I mean, look what used to happen to them when they had freedom. They were raped, beaten, kidnapped, human trafficking even. But hey, we big strong men will take over, and we will protect you from all of that. By beating, kidnapping, raping, and even human trafficking you, see how much better your lives are now, ladies? The ironic feminist is Serena Joy for this comment.
You can sit. I don't make a practice of it, but just this one time.
Dick of the episode is the commander for slamming the door in his wife's face. I know she's not allowed in the room, but he didn't have to be a dick about it. For now, I am InsaneLayne, and that was The Handmaid's Tale, Episode 1, Offred. Blessed be, bitches. Bye-bye. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. And don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me what to say, and please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display, 'cause you don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way, you don't own me. Don't tie me down, 'cause I'll never stay. I don't tell you what to say, and I don't tell you what to do, so just let me be myself, that's all I ask of you. I'm young, and I love to be young, I'm free, and I love to be free, to live my life the way that I want, to say